All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to episode number 24 now of the Coders Startup Podcast. Thank you so much for joining in sort of real time now. It's been a while since we've recorded one of these because I think the both of us, myself and I'm joined by Carter today, we've both been on sort of vacation and we've been in vacation mode and we're just kind of sort of getting back into the swing of things. And so yeah, it's been a while since I've recorded one of these things. So it's great to be back. I really, obviously love doing these shows and getting back into the swing of things. So anyway, I think, Carter and I talked a bit before we started recording this episode, and we couldn't really figure out a great topic, and then we landed on this one. This is something I've heard from another podcast called Startups for the Rest of Us, or is it This Week in Startups? Oh, shoot. It might be This Week in Startups, if I remember correctly. I can bring it up on my iPhone in any case. But they do sort of like a State of the Union show where the two of them, the two co-hosts, sort of go over what it is that's going on in their businesses right now, what's sort of working, what's not working, and just, interesting tidbits of information. So I found myself sort of, gravitating towards those episodes whenever I saw them pop up in their feed. So I figured, hey, if I like it, maybe other people will like it. And that's the one that we've landed on. So it's Startups for the Rest of Us. I'm just going to show that into the screen there I don't know if you can see that There we go.
There it is.
That's the one I have on my podcast app downloading anyway. So I actually use a podcast app called Downcast. That's a good way to start. What do you even use for listening to podcasts?
What do I use?
Yeah.
I just go to iTunes and play.
You just go to iTunes and like on your computer? Like, do you listen to podcasts on your phone at all ever?
I do sometimes. I want to get better about that because I'm a huge fan of James Altucher. I don't know if you know James Altucher, but I actually I updated my blog, Trevor, which you're always telling me.
Nice.
And I updated 30 blogs that entrepreneurs should be following. So it's a great, reference for people out there who are actually, looking for more references. But James Altucher is one of my favorite people out there to follow. And he does blog posts, but he has over 100 podcast episodes. And it's with everyone from Tony Robbins to just really, really big business juggernauts. And I want to listen to his podcast more. So I need to find a quick solution that I can just download all of those. That would be really good. Yeah.
And I mean, that's like I said, that's what I use. It's called Downcast. I think you need to pay for it. But it's totally it's the one app I think I use the most on my phone right now because I'm so addicted to podcasts.
Now, does it host it in the cloud or what is it? Because my problem is my phone already, it's maxed out.
Yeah. Totally get it. So yeah, to address that concern, that's what I was finding too. My phone was filling up and because I have a 16 gig iPhone, so 16 gigs might sound like a lot to some people, but it does fill up quickly. So what you can do with this is you can tell it to only store 2 episodes for any feed that you include into it. So you go and refresh to download a whole bunch of new episodes. It'll sort of push the old ones off of your phone and delete them. And then you'd have to go back and re-download them later. Or there's an option to stream them as well. So if you have you're on Wi-Fi or you have unlimited data or just ridiculous amounts of data on your phone, then streaming them is always an option. So that's nice.
Fantastic. I'm downloading it today.
It's just really, really useful, and I've always found that it met all of my needs for podcasting. So anyway, that's awesome. Just a side note. So let's talk business. That's what we're all here for. Let's talk about the State of the Union, what's going on in each other's businesses. Now, did you want to start? Or did you want me to start with that? You want me to go ahead? All right, he's pointing at me for those.
You go ahead. Sorry, I was swallowing some water.
Yeah, I caught him off guard with that. So okay. For me and my business, so when I say my business, again, I'm talking about a business that I started back in 2012, late 2012, revolves around teaching people how to code using the Java programming language. I've been building the blog up, and it's gotten to the point now where I think I'm hitting about 47,000 unique visitors per month, which is fantastic. I'm very happy with that figure. That averages out to about 2,000 people-ish a day during the week, and then maybe 1,000 to 1,500 on the weekends. Now, like I said before in previous episodes, I had almost that same amount of traffic. I was hitting maybe 35 or 40,000. and I wasn't making a whole lot of money. And like I hinted at before, didn't really hint at it, I hit you over the head with it many times, building out the email sales funnel was something that really has turned my business into something that's really generating some real revenue now. And that is continuing to work. Now, there's a bit of a hiccup. I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the podcast yet. There's a hiccup with lead pages. Lead pages is something that I use, and I do still support them because I love their software, and I do think it's worth its weight in gold. You can get it, coderstartup.com/lead pages. Now, what happened with them is they got blacklisted by the Ad Blocker Plus people. So if you've ever downloaded an ad blocker program for your Firefox or Chrome or what have you, they got blacklisted by those people, which meant that anyone who had the ad blocker installed on their computer who visited my website or anyone else's who were hosted by lead pages, they essentially saw a blank white screen. So that really hurt my sales. Now, that was a scrambling time for me in my business. This is, I finally started to see some success, and I was like, I was very hesitant of this because over the past 3 years, it's like you see some success and then maybe it falls down, and it's really hard to repeat success in business. And this is the first time that I really saw this repetition of sales coming in almost consistently, and it's like, oh my god, might be able to set my watch to this now. And I was getting excited, and then all of a sudden my sales fell flat because of this issue. So that was a real test of my will again. But the good news is that it's all sorted out. They got back on the white list. I think all the people who were previously blocked from the page are now unblocked. So what that's resulted in, it was essentially last month, I've set a sales record for last month. Even though I lost about 2 weeks worth of sales, I still set a sales record for last month for most sales ever. And then this month, just starting yesterday, this show is being recorded April 2nd. Yesterday, April 1st, was a record-setting day for sales. Carter doesn't even know about this.
That's an April Fool's, though, right, Joe?
This is not an April Fool's joke. I managed to, again, using the exact same funnel, the exact same thing that I've already talked about, and I can talk about a little bit more about sales funnel that I'm testing in the future. But for now, all the stuff that I've already...
interjection, too. We got to do that. We got to talk about sales funnels on here.
For sure.
Such a valuable concept.
Yeah,
out there at whatever stage of business. So keep going.
Yeah, and I've talked about mine, but like I said, there's more to it than just what I do. There's more tips and tricks, and absolutely we can talk about that. But yesterday I set the sales goal, and again, this is all passive income. Although I measure it in Canadian dollars, I think in US I can figure it out in US dollars. But in Canadian dollars, I essentially made just about 2,400 Canadian dollars in one day. So to put that into perspective, I used to bring that home maybe, in about a paycheck and a half. That used to be what I brought home as a salary as a senior software engineer. And I did that in one day yesterday. So that was just incredible. I think it was 1,800 US is what it was, what the number is in US dollars, somewhere around there. Anyway.
Yeah, it's about there.
So, I mean, like I said, sales funnels, they work. The only thing that I can see where I fell down with my own business is, having a backup plan. When you have like one single point of failure in your business and it fails, it's scary. It's scary, especially when you're getting to the point where, it's fairly high volume that I'm pulling in now, at least for myself, it's high volume. So losing out on 2 weeks of sales, that probably cost my business somewhere around $4,000 or $5,000 in those 2 weeks. And that's no chump change. So if I had had a better plan for a backup in some way, shape, or form, for in place of lead pages, maybe some static pages or something that I could have quickly switched to, that would have really been of benefit to myself and my business. So
yeah, so take that lesson.
Lessons learned for this past month or so, and that's, like I said, that's what's continuing to work for my business is the automated sales funnels. And I'll talk a little bit more about some software that I'm switching to, but I'll flip things over to Carter now to see how his business is treating them of late. So take it away.
Yes. So I'm trying to think last time we talked business. I'll just give you, what's rattling around in my head. So we're doing a really good job gaining that mid-market tier type of clientele that we like. That's the type of client that we're doing content for, that we're doing a lot of SEO for, distributing content, all that sorts of stuff. Actually, because of Trevor's success, the last month and a half, I've been working on creating funnels in our business. And when Trevor was talking about all this, I was like, that's a piece of cake. We'll record a couple of videos, we'll get it going. Let me tell you, it is not a cakewalk. I think I've recorded each video about 3 or 4 times, mostly because of like technical quality. It just wasn't up to par. But even then, I was speaking with another entrepreneur last night. She was talking about some of the challenges she's having with a launch, and she made a really good point that if you are both taking care of the logistical side and the creative side, it can be very, very wearing on you. And I was like, man, that is so true, so true. So with that being said, though, we have the videos now, which is great. We're driving a lot of traffic through Pinterest to one of our pages. Unfortunately, it's not converting yet. I'll be completely transparent there. That traffic has not converted. So we're going to be switching up which platform we're using just to drive that traffic, and tweak the offers and start having fun, just maximizing all of that. But yeah, other than that, team's firing on all cylinders. It was about a month and a half ago we started incorporating regularly scheduled weekly meetings with the team, and it's just been fabulous, keeping us all on tempo, all on point. And that's one thing that I definitely recommend, and I had it recommended to me, and that's why I gave it a shot. But if you're running a virtual team, if you're not all in one location, make it a standard ongoing thing that you meet up, once a week. And our meetings are really light. Like, very rarely do they go over 20 minutes. It's literally just to touch the points of what everyone's doing, make sure we're all, focused and we know what we have to take care of, and that's it. And it'll last maybe 20 minutes, and it is so great. Other than that, we've been using Slack a lot. Slack's a big...
I've heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, big communication tool. I like it, and I'll tell you the benefit that I've found. So Slack is essentially, it's like a giant chat room, and you have all these different channels that your employees and stuff and your team can interact in. And
like
so
IRC. It sounds like IRC, if you've ever used that before.
No, I haven't used that one.
Yeah. Us fellow nerds probably all know what IRC is, and that's exactly what it's
There you go. So it's great in that sense that you have all your messages there. But what it does is it takes the messages that you would typically send via email and it puts them in the chat room. And why this is so valuable is because your email box just drains your focus and concentration. So I found that really using Slack, it just helps a ton because I won't check my email and then get distracted by my other emails in there. So that's been super, super helpful for us. Yeah, other than that, that's pretty much just my state of the union, I guess, if you will.
Cool. Now, I want to talk just a little bit more about Slack because I've heard about this. I've heard about how awesome it is. Lots of entrepreneurs are using it to manage their teams. I'm starting to build out my team a little bit. So is it free for, under X number of people type of thing?
Completely free.
Completely free.
Yeah, I don't even think there's a paid plan. Like, maybe at like an enterprise level of 5,000 employees or something. But and the way I actually came about Slack, the first time I was ever introduced to it actually was after I had gone to Zappos, interacted with a bunch of them, and they were like, oh yeah, we'll add you to our company Slack.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is awesome. So, and I didn't really understand what it was then. This was like, oh man, about 8 months ago. And then my project manager and I, we started really brainstorming, like, how can we stay connected? What's a good solution? And she brought up Slack again. And I was like, yeah, I think I've heard of that. And I had already made an account and everything. So we set that up, and it's imagine a chat room. That's what it is, but it has all these different channels. And of course you can private message people. You can upload files, share links. So like for us, we have our general discussion channel, and then we have a resource channel where we'll just post like any resources we come across that are good to share with the group. I just created a time hacks channel just to post any insight there. Then we have certain client channels. So if we want to talk about a certain issue or something that's going on with the client, we'll post it in there. And then they send you alerts. So if you're not on Slack, you can actually enable desktop alerts, so it'll pop up on your desktop. But I didn't do that because I didn't want the distractions. So if you have Slack open, it won't email you an alert. But if you're not on there, it'll email you an alert.
Yeah. And that sounds actually very similar to another tool, but it's actually a paid one once you get to a certain number of people. It was HipChat. We used HipChat back in Foundation. So would you pretty much say that it's more or less exactly the same as HipChat?
No, and I don't know how to describe the difference.
Okay. So whatever, that's okay. I don't want to divert the whole talk about this one app, but I need to check it out. I think it's free. Sure. Why not? There's nothing to lose. Just get it done already, Trevor. So cool. That's awesome. So, and the other thing you talked about was the meetings that you're having with your team once a week. Again, I don't know if you guys listening have a team yet, but if you do, this might be of interest to you. It sounds like the types of meetings that you're doing are kind of like what I did when I worked in the software company that I used to work for here near Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We did agile meetings where they were called stand-up meetings. So we'd all stand up. And it's essentially just a 5 to 10 to 15-minute meeting with your whole group where you go through, everyone says sort of what they were working on yesterday, or I guess in this case, it'd be what they worked on last week, what they plan on working on this week, and if they need any help from anyone, if they need any resources or any, whatever from anyone, they can sort of voice their opinion then. So
and I'll be the first to say, I absolutely hate meetings. I think they are time waste. I do everything I can to avoid them. With clients and stuff, if we have a meeting, I send them an agenda ahead of time just so we don't, and what you're talking about, the standing meetings, for those who out there listening who don't know the science behind that, the idea is at a standing meeting, if people are actually standing, then you won't waste time and talk about, oh, how was your weekend? What barbecue did you go to? Have you heard about so-and-so?
Yeah.
You hit your points and then you're off and running. For our meetings, we have I'll pull up our itinerary. I call them weekly awesome meetings.
Weekly awesome meetings.
Yeah. So real quick. So what we do, I just go over, anything that's been completed, feedback on that. So usually it's like, great job, saw that, way to go. Then any progress that we've made kind of on a standing task, I just review that. Then we talk about needs. So like, hey, how's this going? What do you need? Similar to what you were saying. And then, we create an action list from that and we email it out to everyone.
Sweet.
So real lean, but it's been awesome.
That's sweet. Okay. So that's good. That's good little, diving into how the inner workings of your business works with, when you have some employees going. It's good to know because that's definitely a direction that I think I'm going to need to head, now that, the income has started to actually come in and I can actually afford to hire more and more people to make my life easier and easier. I think this is going to be a problem I'm going to be faced with, is how to manage a team, and I want to sort of stay ahead on that, so as much as possible.
Yeah, and it's a challenge, man. Like, I used to joke, I thought it was always so funny when they'd, like, in school and stuff, especially in college, they'd talk about leadership building. Like, you go to, like, whatever to build leadership, and I found, like, leadership was always just one of those almost, like, natural states that I fall into. But what I realized was a lot of times that's because there was a pre-existing foundation or structure. So like, you look at being a leader in an organization, if you're on a sports team, like that structure's there, you know what I mean? Like that routine's there, that's there. Like when I was in student government, that structure was already there. But when you're building your own business, like the structure's not there, you got to build it. And that's the biggest challenge with leading a team, I think personally. It's just building that structure and then taking on that role with the leadership.
Yeah. Cool. Excellent insights. Now, what I want to sort of steer the conversation into is one thing that I'm sort of testing right now, bringing the conversation back to sales funnels specifically. I signed up, I bit the bullet and signed up for something called Infusionsoft. If you've ever heard of Infusionsoft before, then you know what I'm about to say. If you've never heard of it before, then it might be of interest to you. There's a few things about Infusionsoft that it has sort of a reputation for. The first one is being confusing. And now that I've been sort of dealing with it for quite some time, and I haven't done any of their, one-on-one training yet. This is just me diving in there, watching their video trainings, and just playing around with it. There is a bit of a learning curve, but it actually was far easier than I thought it was going to be. So that's sort of a plus or check in that category. So it's easy enough to use if you've got a decent, head on your shoulders. The second thing is that it's expensive. That one I could not get around. The plan that I needed, because I needed to have a shopping cart built in, because I want to be able to track sales nicely with the e-commerce. I wanted to have a big size in terms of audience, in terms of emails that I can manage. They call them contacts. But for emails, like I crossed the, I think, 15,000 email thresholds. I've got 15,000 emails in the bank, and it's growing at a rate of about, 2,000 or so per month. So that's filling up quickly. And to get the sort of, leeway where I have about 6 months of runway before I need to revisit another plan, essentially the plan I was looking for is $400 a month. And that is no chump change. $400 a month.
The setup stuff, right?
No, that's just the monthly fee to use the actual software. And then on top of that, there's a fee that they charge you, a one-time fee to do training, because they force training on you.
And tell them how much that was.
Which is $2,000. Now, again, not cheap. It has a reputation for being expensive, and it absolutely is expensive. Now, you might say, why in the heck would I pay that much money for it? Clearly, I made the choice to, so I must see that there's some sort of ROI in there. And the ROI I see from Infusionsoft specifically is really how functional it is and how flexible it is in doing a whole bunch of different things at once. So it is a sort of a lead page generating machine. So you can generate, sales pages and email squeeze pages to collect email address and lead gen forms or whatever. You can build all that inside the app. Great. Check. You can track every single aspect of someone's interaction with your company. So you can track what links they click on in an email, what websites they visit, what actions they take, what behaviors they have. You can track everything, which I find to be very interesting, because at this point, I'm looking to sort of maximize the leads that I already have. So I'm not looking to make find new customers and bring them in, but I'm looking at existing customers and saying, hey, what made them a customer in the first place? What behaviors did they exhibit that I can kind of say, hey, if other people exhibit those behaviors, then they're most likely to make a purchase. So it's kind of this, I don't know what that's called, this marketing or business intelligence that's built into it. So that's cool. I like that. That's something that I want to start playing with. The biggest selling point that I think for this software is its ability to handle contingencies. And by contingencies, I mean, okay, the scenario is someone signs up for your email list. Great, fantastic. They confirm they want to be on your email list, and you send them your first piece of content, your first email in your email sales funnel. Let's say it's the first video they need to watch. What happens if they don't watch that video? And what happens if they never interact with that particular sales funnel ever after they joined? Okay, you might be thinking, well, do people actually do that? The answer is yes. It looks like 50% of the people who join my email list, and this is an average as well, this is an industry average, 50% of the people who join your email list don't ever watch the first thing that you send them. They won't ever watch anything that you send them. And that's just such a strange statistic. But this is where the beauty of contingencies comes in. I have my campaign, this new one that I'm setting up that I just put live yesterday. It will check the behavior of those people. And if they don't click on that first video that I send them, it sends them a reminder. the next day. It waits 24 hours and says, hey, I see that you didn't click on the video. Well, just thought maybe, I understand you're busy, life's whatever. Go ahead and click on it and check it out. It'll only take 20 minutes. And then if they don't click on that video, still that first video, I send them another reminder to say, hey, what's going on here? Again, I understand life is busy, but this is really great stuff that you're missing out on. You got to click here. You got to watch it. It's not going to take that long. You're going to get a lot out of it. I promise, blah, blah, blah. I do that a fourth time as well to send the fourth reminder to say, hey, what is up? Why aren't you clicking on this video? And if they do not click on the video the fourth time, after I've emailed them 4 times about the video, I send them into a different sales funnel, because maybe that one is just not as exciting to them as they originally thought it was going to be. So then I switch them. Instead of trying to shove Java tutorials down their throat, I personally switch over to SQL. So now I start to try to get them interested in databases. And I do the exact same thing. I send them what they call an engagement series, where you try to get them to engage with the very first video that you send them, which in this case is the very first video of the SQL tutorial stuff. And I do that same thing over again. I send it 4 times. And the beauty of Infusionsoft is, as soon as they click on it, you can set something called this goal. You can say, okay, the goal has been achieved where they've clicked on it. So now stop sending them all those reminders and put them into a different sequence, which is the next sequence, which is, video 2, 3, and 4, and so on and so forth. And then you can start your countdown timers if you have your scarcity in there, and you can start all that stuff, and you can launch it into action, and you can set up, it's all based on tagging, and you can have dynamic tagging going on, and you can use, what was another thing? Oh, you can send HTTP post requests via, at any point via your email sequence. So that was something that I found to be very powerful, to just be able to send a post and communicate directly with my server. And I can build out, whatever interaction I want from that. And so it's absolutely endless, the possibilities you have with this software, and they make it so easy with a very beautiful, clean GUI that gives you the ability to drag and drop all these things and build out your sales funnel. So I'm very impressed with the software, and it is a lot of money, and I don't know yet if the ROI is going to be completely worth it. I think it will be with all these contingencies, because like I said, if all those people are going through my sales funnel and none of them are opening emails, like if I'm only converting 4% of the people into sales, that means 96% of the people are not converting into sales. I'm just sort of saying it's okay to the 96% of people who haven't purchased. I'm just going to let them go, right? And there's absolutely no contingencies built in there. And I think that's just this real light bulb that went off that made me say, well, what the heck am I doing with those 96% of the people? I need to do something with them. So that's where the contingencies came into play. So it's really very flexible and powerful. The one more thing I wanted to follow up with is a kind of something I never thought of before, and that is setting up a merchant account. Now, I think you've done this before, Carter. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've set up a merchant account before? Yeah, you're saying yes. I don't know how, again, I've never done this before. I don't know how difficult this is going to be in the future, but I've applied for one that Infusionsoft recommended. It was called, I think, PowerPay or something like that. They recommend signing up with them. And when I was on the phone with their sales rep or whatever it was, they have a bunch of monthly fees and annual fees, and it's just like, oh my God, you feel like you're just, it's not worth it. But they have a fairly low transactional fee. So with Stripe and PayPal, you pay 2.9% or 2.99% plus 30 cents per transaction. With PowerPay, it averages out to, well, they start at 1.4% plus 25 cents per transaction. So it's smaller in each of those two categories, but I think it averages out to about 2%. But if you think about that, if I made $10,000 in sales in a month, which is what I did last month, and I expect to hopefully make more this month, a 1% difference is actually a lot of money. 1% of 10,000, what is that? $100 a month?
$100, yeah.
$100 a month that I would be saving and putting back into my own pocket.
So you basically just wrote yourself a check for $1,200 every year.
For $1,200 every year.
I mean, that's how I like to look at it. The annual.
Sure. Yeah. And the beauty of that is, as I make more money, recurring revenue over the course of the months, that go by between now and the end of the year, I'm going to be saving more and more money. Because again, I would be paying 3%, and now I'm paying 2%, or sometimes even less, like 1.4%, which is what it starts at. So it's very interesting. I don't know what the results are going to be like, but I never once thought about the benefit of actually going and finding a merchant account, because things like Stripe and PayPal make it so easy to accept payments online. But there clearly is a price for that convenience. So there's the tipping point of sales versus convenience, right? So if you make too many sales, you're going to be paying a lot for that convenience, so it might make sense to do the switch. And I think when I did the math, it was somewhere around the $7,000 a month mark. If you're making more than $7,000 a month, then you should consider switching to a merchant account. So that was just something that I thought, hey, no one's ever said that before, and I just wanted to mention it. So, is there
a quick question? Is there a way to transition, your old clients to a merchant account? I don't know, because I had my merchant account when I ran the moving company.
Yeah.
And I've used Stripe and PayPal ever since.
So the question for me is, why did you stop that? Why did you stop using your merchant account and didn't carry it forward into this new business?
Well, because I sold the business, so it wasn't actually my merchant account.
Gotcha.
And then I don't know how it used to be, but when you're applying for a merchant account, like, it was a headache. Like, I remember it was multiple phone calls. It used to be you had to do a PCI compliance test, an exam. I don't know if that's still.
I haven't seen that yet, but I can confirm that there was multiple phone call exchanges, as well as documents to sign,
credit checks. There's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's really been a convenience thing, like you said. Like, it's almost like, God, I don't want to do that. But an interesting thing that you brought up, and this is something I think it's worth pointing out. Very seldomly am I motivated by saving money, but if I can reframe it as I'm making money, then it's a total sell to me. So, like you saying saving, like, I was like, yeah, it's great. But then, like, when I was like, you just made $1,200 in the year, I'm like, holy hell! Like, I'll sit on the phone for however many hours, to make that happen. So that's a good little reframe.
Exactly. And I mean, hopefully I'm hoping that this month coming I'm going to hit around 15,000, maybe even 20,000 in sales. Again, I'm shooting for the moon here, but I'm hoping that this new sales funnel is going to help out. So, I mean, that's doubling now the check that I'm writing to myself. That's now, 1% of 20,000, which is $200. I'm doing that right?
Yeah, you're right. You're good.
I just want to make sure it's not something even bigger. So yeah, that's just, like I said, something interesting. I've never heard about it before. A word of caution, though, I've heard from other people with merchant accounts, they can be a pain in the butt, not just with setting up, but in the future as well. With fraud.
I was going to ask.
Sorry?
I was going to say, do you want me to dive into the negative side of?
Yeah, definitely. I've heard nightmares. Like, if there's ever any fraud, they can hold on to all the money that they're supposed to be paying out to you. They can hold on to it, and any incoming sales, they can hold on to that cash until everything's sorted, and it can take months and months and months to get that cash back. And even when I say fraud, you might think that won't happen to you, but there can be some very simple oversights. Like, when you first sign up for the account, you need to specify what the average size of a transaction will be and what your average amount of sales are going to be per month. So now I set that to be whatever it was, 8,000 or 10,000. But if I grow my business to the point where I'm making 100,000 a month, there might be some point where a flag is raised, and then they all of a sudden think it's fraud and they'll freeze my account. So you kind of need to be in contact with them constantly to keep that up to date.
And I'll just interject a little story. We actually, my business partner and I, when we had our merchant account, exact same thing that you were saying, because they ask you to stipulate what the average transaction size is. And ours was 4 figures, so it was no problem. But we had a transaction over 5 figures, and it flagged it and froze the accounts. And it is a pain. Like, literally, you would be amazed how many hula hoops you have to go through to get that money. But what really hurt us was we had already executed that job, so we had all of our employees, our team members, our bills to pay that go along with it, and it created a huge cash flow pinch for us. So yeah, just, a slight warning there. And it's something important to bring up with them, because it's possible that you could probably talk about that at the front, at the start of setting it up. And then, if the situation ever does come across, you'll have someone to go to and reference to.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest takeaway that I've heard from all these people who I've heard nightmare stories from. I think it's just a matter of making a note for yourself to keep in touch with that, whoever the contact is in the business, in the merchant account business, and just make sure you stay ahead of it. You just need to be proactive. There's what's the quote or the saying for an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of something else. I forget the anyway. That applies.
I had a nightmare banking situation just 2 weeks ago, and I was on the road. I was traveling. My bank messed up all these transactions. But because I go into the bank and I deposit things, like I just go up to the teller, I talk to her, Key Bank, it's fantastic. And I literally was able to call her and be like, I don't know what's going on, but something has happened, like my account's frozen. And literally the value, because I had gone in and just, stayed in touch and was friendly all along, like literally she spent 2 days sorting it out and got it all figured out. And you might think that that's pretty standard service, but I've been in a lot of banking situations where that definitely isn't the case, where you're calling the 1-800 number, you're transferred, people are like, we're not responsible for that. And it was such a huge relief just to have someone who was like, yeah, we'll get it figured out.
So there you go. I think that's a good overview of the state of the union of things. I think one of the big takeaways and lessons is you're going to hit speed bumps. You're going to hit issues in your businesses, and you're going to have to put out fires. And nobody's perfect. You're going to, it's okay. This happens to everybody. Okay. So, you just need to be able to stay, light on your feet.
Just roll with the punches.
Just roll with those punches and get it, get the everything back on track as soon as possible. And the best way to do that is to have those backup plans, the backup, the redundancies in place. So just like if you were to build out a whole data center with redundancies, you got to do the same thing in your business. It's a pain in the butt, but it's going to be worth it when, you can resolve those issues in 1 or 2 days instead of 1 or 2 months. So there you go. That could be the big takeaway for this talk. To wrap things up, I want to mention to you guys that you need to check out, and Carter recommended or said that he outlined a new blog post finally. So there you go. Alert the media. mcarterjohnson.com. Is that still the blog?
That's it, man. You'll see it front and center. But yeah, just some great other blogs that you can check out that I kind of did a sum up of each one. So really, really awesome stuff. I read those things nonstop, and all sorts of things from actual, tangible to-do stuff to just mindset, motivation type things. So,
and as always, you can also go to, first of all, this episode was, I think I said number 24. Is that right? I think it was 24. So you can go to coderstartup.com/24. Or if I'm lying, then I'm sure you can just click on the link inside of the actual show notes within the podcasting app itself. I'll have it there, so you can click on that. And also check out, if you're interested in receiving some one-on-one coaching, I finally had some people go in and apply for the coaching. So that's really exciting that you guys are interested in not only the podcast, but actually building up your businesses with sort of in tandem with me, one-on-one type style. That's awesome that you guys are applying. If you're interested in doing that and having a sort of consultation with me and sort of, hammering out the details on how you can get your business on the track to make some serious profits, then go to coderstartup.com/coaching, and you can fill out a quick little survey there. I think it's like 4 or 5 questions. It shouldn't take you too long, maybe 10 minutes to fill it all out. And it'll be sent right to me, and I'll have a smile on my face, and we can have a conversation, a Skype chat, and get you on the path to, like I said, big time profits. So loving it. I'm absolutely loving this stuff. I could do this stuff all day. So as always, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining, and we will catch you next time. Peace out.
See ya.